languages, and this is where we talk about languages and language learning and all sorts of other stuff, and we play games. This is Elise with an update on the ongoing Inessa Armand translation project. We now have 37 of the 38 extant essays and speeches by Inessa Armand translated into English for the first time, and we are just short of the halfway mark on the fundraising progress as well. This enrichment of the English language Marxist canon has only been possible with your support, and it's been a real lifeline for me. So anyone who would like to support this project can find links in the description for how to do so, and everybody who has already supported it has my sincerest thanks. Perfect. Okay, 3 of 4.
El hospital.
還元一級の先というのは、本当に誰も知らない字ばっかりでしょうね。私は Okay, we've leveled up and it is time to pick another language. Mod för är tröttare än vanligt. Maten är färdig. And let's see what we're doing when we get back. Greek. We're doing Greek when we get back. Ben neredeyse her gün okula giderim. Fun fact. Turkish. Hello, Shakespeare. How you doing? Fun fact, in Spanish, the word for bishop in chess is alfil. And that actually comes from Arabic. Fil. The same word fil as this. Meaning elephant, because the bishop traditionally was to represent elephant units somehow. Similarly, in Russian, the word for bishop is sword, and that also means elephant. Okay. This is Elise with an update on the ongoing Inessa Armand translation project. We now have 37 of the 38 extant essays and speeches by Inessa Armand translated into English for the first time, and we are just short of the halfway mark on the fundraising progress as well. This enrichment of the English language Marxist canon has only been possible with your support, and it's been a real lifeline for me. So anyone who would like to support this project can find links in the description for how to do so, and everybody who has already supported it has my sincerest thanks. Ça, c'est ça, que c'est ça, non ça, c'est ça, sol chi sa che nulla sa, ne sa più di chi ne sa. Ecco.
Bonjour et bienvenue à Hyper Polyglotting avec Élise. Moi c'est Élise, traductrice, éditrice et écrivain avec 20 ans de travail. Et ça c'est la transmission en direct ou en jeu des jeux, surtout GeoGuessr en dernier temps. Et parle des langues, de la linguistique, de l'acquisition des langues.
10-159. Haven't made a huge dent in it, but we're getting there. Okay, gonna do some Chinese now. Night. Night. Fun. Yen. Yo. 5. Ducks are drinking wine. Bangba, okay, Bangbas is duck. Okay, I have now leveled up. Let's see what the XP situation is now. 10,340 out of 12,500. And as always, viewers can choose my next language for me just with a follow and a $5 to my Patreon.
Sotto le frasche del capanno 4 gatti grossi stanno. Sotto 4 grossi sassi, 4 grossi e grassi gatti. Un généreux déjeuner régénéré des généraux dégénérés. Un généreux déjeuner régénéré des généraux dégénérés. Facile. Sì, sì, ecco, la gente, è la cosa che mi dice la gente, sempre che scoprisce che quante lingue parlo, io sempre avevo l'impressione, diciamo, di che non era così, non era tan così, ma poi, dopo di aver visto qualche poliglota in YouTube, una delle cose che avevo scoperte era giustamente che la metodologia usata da quella gente poliglota che non avevo mai conosciuta prima, era più o meno la stessa metodologia che usavo io. I buy a computer or what? Here's another example. I like to point these out. For this word for or, but sounds vaguely like Hogun and the Hok in Hogun in Korean or Waku in Japanese, and that appears it is the exact same kind of character.
Okay, let me see.
Un chasseur, ça son chassé. Ses chassés sont son chien de chasse.
Der dicke Dach.
Okay, der dicke Dachdecker deckt dir dein Dach drum, dank dem dicken Dachdecker, dass der dicke Dachdecker dir dein Dach deckt. Hola y bienvenidos al directo de Hyperpolyglotting with Elise. Yo soy Elisa, traductora, escritora y editora y comunicadora social con más de 20 idiomas de trabajo. Y aquí vamos a estar jugando videojuegos, sobre todo GeoGuessr, y hablando de idioma, la mejor forma de aprenderlo y caleta más. Zwei Zwetschgenzweigen zwitscherten zwei tschechische Schwalben. Tres tristes tigres tragaban trigo en un trigal en tres tristes trastos. Oh, I see. This is Diche Ishai Fui, which means, do you want to? Hello and welcome to Hyperpolyglotting with Elise. I'm Elise, translator, writer, and editor with 20 working languages, and this is the stream where we're going to be looking at some examples of the automatic language growth method, looking at Thai, which I've been doing for the past week or so, as you may know if you've been following the videos. Also looking at David Long discussing the Thai ALG course in with some detail, checking out some more bad takes on input from Evildea, our bad take factory, and other useful and beautiful things, all in aid of the crowdfunded translation project, where I am currently just $180 short of my current project's fundraising goal for a long-form article from 1969 from the legendary Chilean leftist monthly Punto Final called Chile, the Ballot or the Bullet. I'm going to drop a couple of links in chat for where you can find out more about the project and where you can contribute if you should be so inclined. How's everybody doing, chat? On this May Day. Also, I have created a playlist for the occasion for anyone who's just looking for some occasion music. And that link is there. Okay. So, Comprehensible Thai, which is the channel I've been using for Thai ALG for the past week, and I've been quite impressed with, I have to say. I think they do a very good job, and I think we're gonna look at actually an example of how they do it, because it's very interesting how they structure it and everything. I think they do
they managed to weave together a lot of things in a very useful kind of a way, and I've been quite happy with that. Hey, Badger. Hey, Atta. How's everybody doing? Let me get my hyper chat widget so that I can actually see chat with the video full screened, and we're gonna get started. Oh, that's good to hear. Yeah, I saw that. Because we'd been looking at Evildea reacting to that one thing from David Long over the past couple of weeks, and then I noticed that Comprehensible Thai has another thing from him that's apparently more specifically related to this Thai course. Oh, that happens. When I'm freelance. I never know what fucking day of the week it is. Like the only things that actually help me keep orientated in terms of what day of the week it is are my streams and taking the bins out. And other than that, it does not really matter what day of the week it is. So, yeah. Okay, so let me know if the audio needs any adjusting. They have a bunch of playlists. I've been really quite impressed with the way they've done it and how structured it is. That's something we're going to talk about in a little bit. But let's start out by just checking out what David Long has to say. Oh, okay. He has a YouTube channel called ALG World. Interesting. I just noticed that in the thumbnail. Okay, I'll have to check out more of that. But, okay, so this is an interview with him. Gonna just drop the link to that in chat as we load it. Oh, hey, River Rune.
So I'll answer that in a moment. We just went live, so we're live with Mr. David Long, a very awesome man who knows a lot about ALG. So I'm very excited to ask him a bunch of questions. And his first question to me was, "Have I promoted this yet?" And the answer is no, because until.
Okay. So the first thing I'm noticing, just as an aside, is apparently it has indeed been a while since the thing from him that we watched, that we were watching Evildea reacting to. I kind of thought it was, just judging from the image quality, but... So, yeah, okay. So that'll be interesting as well, because, he's had probably, I'm guessing just... probably another 15-20 years to think about it, and maybe he has further ideas. So that'll also make this interesting.
Like 4 o'clock or something my time in the morning, I didn't know we were going to do it or not today, because I hadn't got confirmation. So no. Could you please start with a brief self-explanation? So I'm sure there's a lot of people. There's a lot of people who don't even know what ALG is, right? So.
How's the audio?
Off, just introduce yourself, and then after that, we'll start introducing other stuff.
Sure. Okay. Thanks, John. I came to Thailand in 1986 for the first time, and I started making plans then to move back here with my family, which we did in '87. And
ramen sounds nice. What kind of ramen's it going to be?
I knew I wanted to spend, if not the rest, at least a good portion of my life here in Thailand working. And for me, that meant learning the language. So
definitely
after
helps.
Looking around, I had, my background in language was, limited to high school and a little bit of Greek, ancient Greek, and so on. And both English study in school through just, any English classes were the worst. And then I had Spanish, and it went from there from worst down. It was just terrible.
Yeah.
And then I hit some ancient Greek in college, and my whole attitude towards learning language was, that's impossible for me. You know, I could never really understand people who knew how to do that and ace the test. I would study.
Thank you, Badger. I'll turn him up. Okay, I'm just looking for... looking at these chapters, since this is actually a pretty long interview. Okay, let's see. What is language? That could be interesting. Because, of course, when we talk about this stuff, I mean, really, these are always... there's an underlying theory about what language is. Like, when people are talking about using flashcards and memorizing a bunch of words, that is based on one underlying theory, one they may not even be entirely aware of. They haven't necessarily given that level of thought to conceptualizing these things, of what exactly language is and what it means to learn a language. So, okay, let's see what this sounds like. Let's hear a bit of this. This sounds good. Is the audio better?
If you were to distill down to its most basic component, what is language? It's not a phoneme. It's not a word or a phrase. It's not even a meaning of some sound, right?
Okay.
In its basic component, it's a happening.
Mm-hmm.
It's an aspect or a part of an experience.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
All right. This is sort of like the key to every.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that, Badger. I'm glad everybody seems to be doing well today. That's nice to see.
Thing we're doing in ALG, and if you get this, if you get grounded in this one point, there's no. That's the guiding principle, if you want.
Okay, I'm interested in what he means by language as a happening. I mean, I haven't heard it described that way. So, okay, let's hear it.
What does it mean? What does that mean?
Right.
You know, when I can very quickly assess. I had a friend of a student who asked me, come and take a look at his classes. And so I did, and this happens on occasion. You know, and in a minute or two, I knew what was going on. I could assess it very quickly. All right? Okay. And the basic assessment is this: is it about language, or is it language happening? Mm-hmm. It's one or the other, but
ginger turmeric tea for the broth and a base of natural peanut butter, hummus, garlic and onion powder, black and red pepper. Interesting combination. Actually, I mean, the peanut it sounds kind of Thai, so that's fitting. Okay, so I mean, that's that is actually how I would assess.
It's rarely ever both.
I'll assess a language class as well. I mean, what he means by language happening is just like people talking, people listening and stuff, as opposed to saying, okay, Thai is a right-branching language where words are largely composed of monosyllables that are not inflected, which is basically all grammatical information that I have just gleaned watching Comprehensible Thai. For anyone who is has this idea that there's no grammar going on, like, I talk about this a bit in the two videos. If you look at the channel, there's this Thai ALG diary playlist where I talk about my thoughts and experiences doing ALG Thai every day. And the grammar is always there. It's just a matter of how it is brought to you. And the way it is brought to you in an ALG context, in an input-based context, is you understand the message, and the message is varied in ways that allow you to kind of see, okay, so this is where like you sort of subliminally see, this is where the subject goes. This is where you put the question word in a question, and stuff like that.
And if it is both, it's in situations like Scrabble, where you're playing with language, but the experience is the focus.
Right.
And the language is a sideshow that keeps everyone's attention, if you will.
Right.
But it's the experience that holds it all together. Language is an outgrowth of experience. So if I was going to give you language, what would I do? I give you experiences.
Okay.
Now, they need to be understood. Right? That's where we get the word comprehensible.
Right.
And
yeah. I mean, and one thing that I've had, one thing that's really interesting about the comprehensible Thai experience is, like, there's sort of in each video that I have looked at so far, and I've looked at like 6 or 7 of them by now, there are a few minutes at the beginning, sometimes as much as like 10 minutes out of a half-hour video, where nothing's making any sense. Like, they're talking about something, they're clearly on about something. There's some vague idea of what it might be, but I'm not actually getting it. And I think one of the things that a lot of people don't understand about a method like this is you really do have to sort of have yourself in the right kind of mindset to do that. You have to just accept that there are going to be periods in which you just don't understand a damn thing that's going on, and you have to have sort of the trust that if somebody's doing this well and picking the right kind of input and knows how to sort of help you process it, that it will start to make sense. I think that is actually a skill that can be learned, to get yourself into that kind of headspace. I think that is something, because if you're not in that headspace and you're trying to like brute force it, like mentally brute force analyze what's going on, rather than just letting it come to you at its own pace and letting your brain do the thing your brain does with input, with linguistic input, it can be extremely frustrating. I think that mindset is a really important part of it.
And as long as you are gaining understandable, comprehensible experiences in a certain language, you're going to get that language. Now, you can short circuit that by diminishing the experience, focusing on a language, focusing on a word, focusing on a sound or a meaning. You miss the experience and you catch a word.
Right.
And that's like all of it in a nutshell. It's like really that simple.
So let's okay,
no,
go ahead.
Well, no, it's fine. I could go on from that point into everything. So go ahead.
Okay.
Well, maybe do. I was just gonna say, how do we?
Yeah, do. This is interesting. This is good. Because this is an aspect that I think a lot of people really don't completely get, that at the heart of all of these discussions about like input versus Anki and all this other stuff, there is a deep philosophical question and a scientific question as well, because there's all sorts of science on this, there's all sorts of research into this about what exactly we're doing when we know a language. what exactly it is that is happening when we're acquiring a language. What is this language in the first place? What even is it? And understanding all of that. And like when you're saying, when you opt for something like flashcards and stuff like that, what you're saying is you're remembering words and structures. That is what a language is. It's words and structures that you acquire it, you learn it by just remembering that stuff and by relating it to the language you already have. Whereas this is saying, okay, we create an experiential universe for you that is in this language, done in a way that makes it digestible for your brain, which is not used to this language. And through that experience, you start linking what you're hearing to concepts, to experiences, to ideas, without mediating it through words that you already have. And so it is a fundamentally different concept. And if you want to talk and to have a sensible discussion about all this, you have to actually really think about what that is. And I think a lot of really bad takes start from a lack of sort of conscious engagement with what exactly the nature of what you're doing is. Okay, a non-teacher, non-tutor third party who speaks the language. Okay, well, I suppose it really depends. It kind of depends on the context. Like, because the key thing in order to actually, I mean, if the goal is to acquire the language, to get better at the language, then the key is to make sure it's something you actually understand. Like, if I start talking at you in Japanese right now, about just some random stuff, you're not going to understand a word, and maybe you'll get used to the rhythm of Japanese, but it's not necessarily going to give you any, but you're not actually going to be able to do anything much with it. I mean, other than maybe recognize Japanese when you hear it. But I think actually we'll probably get an answer to this question as we continue watching this, because the key is that comprehension part. The key is that you have this input, you have these words, these phrases in these particular structures, and it is made comprehensible in some way. That can be as simple as, like, I point to a thing, and I say, هذا كافية هذا كافية هذا كافيتي هذا كافيتي هذا كافية in عندي, and you say, okay, so this thing is called kafiyya, or something like that. And gradually, as you get more input that allows you to sort of make sense out of this structure or something like that, then you comprehend more and more, and it allows you to have more access to the stuff that to new things. So I mean, it all depends on the specific context for this processing, but the key is that it is made understandable in some way.
How do we take that nugget and go forward with it? Like, how does that apply?
Okay, here we go. We'll hear his answer.
Teaching the class, being a student.
Okay, so if I'm going to assess one of my teachers, that's the assessment I use.
Okay.
I don't tell this to them like it has more structure to it for them, but for me, I just look at a classroom, look at a few minutes of what's happening, and I'm getting an experience, or I'm getting that they're talking about language. they're either explaining language to me or they're giving me an experience,
Right.
Yeah.
right? And it's a lot like if you've been around young children trying to get the kid to play the game with the blocks that you want to play with, and you want to play with those blocks because you think he needs to develop whatever he needs to develop playing with those blocks. So you've got an agenda.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Or you're just...
Yeah. And the question, I mean, that is the thing. And this is another aspect of it, because you can have this agenda. You want to get something across to somebody. You want to get you want to get some concept across to them, some kind of structure across to them. But that can come up organically in the experience you're creating. Or you can just say, okay, we're going to talk about the possessive suffixes in Arabic. Al-kafiyya, al-kafiyati, al-kafiyatkum, al-kafiyatkum, al-kafiyatu, and stuff like that. Or we could just say, or we can have that organically come up in the context of an exchange where we're just talking about stuff. And it's all about that.
playing with the kid.
Right.
And those two things look very different. And most of us are taking language classes like we had some need for remedial language.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Now, if I have a kid and he has some issues with his ability to handle things, I might work with blocks on purpose with him.
Right.
But otherwise, I'm not going to tell him he needs to play with blocks. He can play with whatever he wants, and I'll play with him.
Got it.
And we're going to have an experience or two together, rather than here, play with my blocks with me. He couldn't care less.
Yeah, and I mean, what's interesting is we're talking about a different input-based method. TPRS is a lot like this as well, in the sense that what you have is something that, especially as ability increases on the part of your learners, it becomes more learner guided. Because I mean, we watched some isiZulu TPRS a while back, and it's like, okay, so Brian from Zamani Zulu, he kind of starts the story out, and then everybody sort of, and then everybody who wants to contribute a bit to the story then just jumps in and adds a bit, and they're guiding this and making it about whatever they want. I actually participated in, I don't remember whether it was the Polyglot Conference or Gathering, but in an Arabic lesson that worked like that, where you start out with, it's just a very basic story, walking down the street in New York, and then you add something, and you say, yes, and I saw a taxi, and somebody else says, yes, and the taxi had the window broken out and the radio taken out, or something like that. And, the story goes in whatever direction you want it to go in, and so it's guided by the learners, and you can then use their guidance and then also take it in directions that you're trying to take it in as well through what they're doing.
Very difficult to get kids to do that.
Right. How has that? So I have two questions. First off, how did that translate into a classroom situation? And then, now that you've been doing it online, have you found any difficulties translating it to an online system? Let's start with the original
As
classroom.
opposed to live.
Yeah. And let's start with the original. What's up?
So I'll give you a couple of examples that are really mundane and still memorable after 30 some years.
Okay.
One of the classes we would do in the beginning of the very basic beginning level. Remember, the teachers weren't all that sure what they were doing at that time. So we were creating a lot of things.
Right.
And one of the teacher combinations at the lower levels, teachers are always working in pairs. They're always walking and working together.
Yeah, and this is also how comprehensible Thai works.
Two of those combinations, they had this game they would play, and they'd say,
I mean, that incomprehensible Thai, for the most part, the videos that I've been looking at, you have like Kru Ying and Kru A or Kru Fan, and they're doing question and answer pairs. One of them, one of them will say, "Okay, so what's today's date?" And the other one says, "Today's date is this." And then the other one will say it again and write it out and stuff like that. So you have a dialogue going on that you're listening in on. It's just a very basic dialogue that is sort of controlled in a way so that there is variation, but not so much variation that you can't get anything out of it, and with some sort of context that allows you to work out what's going on. Helman, the pro chef who goes around the world. Oh, that sounds very interesting. Actually, this is reminding me of a recipe that I just heard from channel Stefan of French Cooking Academy. It is a Norman apple tart recipe. Yeah, it's short crust, apples, and then they are like flambéed in calvados. And it sounds absolutely incredible, and it's something that I'm going to have to do at some point. You saute them, and then you flambe them in calvados. That cannot be bad.
Well, the students would come in as a group, so it made it easy. We were the same people there every day at that time, and so one of the jobs we had as a student was to do homework. Mm-hmm. And our homework is like this: is all right, bring something made out of wood to class tomorrow.
Neat.
And so we get to class, and here's all these students putting things of wood out on the table. And the hour was spent, the teachers would pick up this piece of wood object and talk about it, describe it, and make up stuff.
That's really good, because what you've got is something that is familiar to the students. They know about this thing. They brought it in. And now, and then you have your teachers talking in Thai about a thing they already know about. That is going to help with the comprehension. Okay, that's a very cool exercise.
Completely insane kinds of things. Mm-hmm. But we just have fun with these wood objects that the students brought. Hmm. Now, I don't know why, for me, that's really memorable. But those were some of the best early classes we had.
Okay.
And they would make up stuff. They would do things. Sometimes it was funny. Sometimes it was sick. You learned about, well, you could never get away with doing that where I'm from, kind of stuff. And you learned about, well, in Thai culture,
Yes, happy May Day. And Riveroon, did you see the International May Day playlist that I linked to? I created a little 2026 May Day playlist for the occasion. For anyone who's just looking for some background music, there's stuff from all sorts of places on it. Some personal favorites of mine, some stuff that I just randomly encountered. There's there's a little bit of everything in it.
They can do things that we couldn't do in my culture, say, for example. Mm-hmm. And you learned from those experiences.
For example, don't slag off the king. You can get in deep shit for that in Thailand. And they have, social media snooping squads to, snitch on people about that shit. Your target, okay. Okay, that is an interesting question. I actually, you're having very interesting questions to talk about. And I think actually watching this, you might be getting some answers, because it's okay. So it's about experiences, I agree with him totally. I never would have put it that way, but it is absolutely, I mean, that is quite right. So, for example, you find ways to just do stuff. Yeah, don't worry about it. You're asking good questions. You're giving me interesting stuff to talk about. And I bet there are lots of people who are wondering this sort of thing too, who have, sort of a bilingual relationship where one, where one party is trying to help the other, trying to learn the other's language or whatever. Okay, so one example, I actually had an idea just a few nights ago. I was just talking about this stuff and thinking about it. Like, for example, okay, one way you could do this is, so you're in the kitchen, and so the person who speaks the target language is sort of directing proceedings. Like, tráeme un cuchillo. Okay. Y ahora vamos a picar la cebolla. Esta es la cebolla, ¿no? La cebolla, una cebolla roja. Or whatever. And so, we're doing a thing, we're having an experience, there's an actual thing going on, and you're just talking about it in a way that is comprehensible because you're talking about objects that are there. For example, that's one way you could do it in that context. Just talk about what you're doing. Yeah, I mean, this is an interesting question. And the nice thing about that is that potentially it isn't something that requires a whole lot of like planning effort or whatever. You can do it, you're just making dinner. You're making dinner together or whatever. And, you say, okay, das ist unser Rotwein, ja? Das ist ein Pauillac aus Frankreich. Also Pauillac ist ein französischer Rotwein. Und diesen Rotwein gießen wir dann hinein in die Pfanne. Das hier ist die Pfanne. Okay, and you have, or whatever. And so you're just talking about what you're doing in the target language, and maybe one party is only really doing listening because they don't really have anything, they're not in a position to add yet. But, like, something like that can work. I mean, that's just a thought. I bet we'll probably hear some more ideas as we go through this.
The cultural aspects as well. So that was the type of thing we do in a classroom beginning level. Later on, and I don't think we can avoid this as people, but I had a teacher that I kind of felt was more boring than the others. And I couldn't remember, I didn't know what he was talking about one day. There are a lot of days don't know what they're talking about specifically. You couldn't, no idea.
Yeah.
But that first 3 months I was learning to guess again, So as I was guessing through his class, what's he talking about? I just remember coming away like, I don't know what that class was about. 10 years later, I'm driving down the road. I've got the radio on to some Thai news channel, and a word comes out of that news channel like it was the first time I heard it.
Yeah.
And it took me back to that class that I remember specifically feeling extra bored in, like, I don't know what's going on. And I could see that teacher, as a male teacher, standing there using that word several times. Once it was up on the board, and it came back to me like, that's what he was talking about.
Right.
I've had this experience
I'm
too.
Sure after 10 years living here, I'd heard it more than that, but I wasn't conscious of it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about for sure.
And that was like, well, even the boring classes have an experience value that I was underestimating.
Yeah. Interesting point. So, David, I love this general overview of things. I think for a lot of people who are getting into this, I think there's a lot of like disbelief. There's like, how could it be possible? And so I'd like to talk a little bit about what it feels like in the beginning, what the mentality you're supposed to bring to it, technique, like
Yeah, I mean, I've had that happen like 30 years later, where I heard a word and I understood it in one way. It actually did not. It actually did not harm my understanding of the dialogue I was listening to in a Japanese episode, Japanese dubbed episode of the X Files. But it was Tozai Ryodoitsu. And so the way I read that, the way I understood that at the time was to as in ataru, tozai, zai as in aru, sonzai no zai. So I thought, okay, as in as they were at the time, both Germanys as they were at the time. And then years and years later, I'm reading a book, and I see tozai, to higashi, zai nishi, west east together, tozai, and it's like, oh shit, that's what he was talking about. That's what that was. It was, it was totally different kanji than I thought it was. 30 so I like corrected a thing that I remembered hearing like 30 years before.
You're not supposed to talk. Why aren't you supposed to talk? How do you be patient at first? Things that like somebody just coming into it and they're like, I don't know what, you know what I mean? Like that confusion in the beginning. What do you tell new students,
Okay, good. I don't tell them all about that. It's too much, right?
Okay, okay.
Getting a lot of lag today, strangely. Don't know why that's happening.
So I'm happy to talk about all that, right? There's some really good reasons that we encourage students, don't start by speaking, don't try to speak. And I'd like to address that on its own at some point. Yeah.
Okay.
In terms of being patient, or even backing up, I think no matter how you learn a language, you're setting out to do something that very few people do as adults, really become fluent to some degree in a foreign language. That's not common in and of its own.
Right.
Now it's common enough. I mean, people do it, right?
Yeah. I mean, it very, like, if you're in a place that's like bilingual or multilingual society, it's probably more common. I mean, it kind of depends on the context you're living in.
But it's not like it is something to be proud of. It's something that it doesn't make you better than others. I think there's a lot of ego wrapped up in how well people speak language. I wish people would get off of that in the language world. I find it stupid. And my Thai is pretty good, all right, by anyone's account. But I just think the ego part of it, for me, it's like it was no credit to me that it was good.
Right.
It's because the people who I listened to were Thai.
I mean, I would say there's the sticking with it. I mean, that's kind of a credit to the learner. I mean, there's a lot that has to be done well by the people trying to teach it and get the language across to the learners. But the learner does have to stick with it if they want to get anywhere with it. So I mean, there is that aspect.
Their Thai was good, and what does that mean? The Thai has good Thai speaking. Wow, that's great. I'm impressed. So for me, that whole part of it has always been a little bit of a put off.
I don't know anyone who's followed U.S. politics
talk
in
more
the
about ego, but if we can talk about
past 40 years, knows you can get plenty of native English speakers with really bad English. I mean, we've just like in the White House, we've just had a whole succession of them. More native English speakers whose English seems to be like B1 at best than not, actually, in the White House since like the 1980s. So I don't know. I mean, it is possible to be a native speaker of the language and also not be very good at it. So a Thai, a Thai person with good Thai. I mean, I would imagine that if you look around, you can find some ones who don't have great Thai.
How you do it? You're gonna make mistakes. You're gonna make some embarrassing mistakes. If you can't learn to take yourself a little bit lightly, you shouldn't try. Right?
Yeah.
And so just from the patient standpoint, is it faster? Is it faster than learning in a traditional way? I'd say it like this: some things are and some things aren't in the whole picture, the big picture.
Right.
There were some things I could do faster than my friend who studied longer than me. I could do them faster and better, and he never was able to catch up. And there are some things he did faster than me.
Got it.
Right?
That would be interesting. I hope you get specific about what those are. That would be interesting.
Talk about myself and a friend of mine, a partner, we work together.
Yeah.
And his experience and mine side by side, it forms a good thing. But even before that, if you back up to the incredulousness of, wow, is this something that's possible? What's incredulous? What makes me it's unbelievable to me as I sit and look at it objectively, is that anyone thinks you're going to learn a language and be fluent by study.
Yeah, I mean, and again, we get to this fundamental thing. It comes down to how you understand what language is, what your brain is doing when it acquires a new one, and when it uses the one it's already got. Because this sort of thing, an input-based method where essentially you're just getting a whole bunch of input, and your brain is just processing it and making sense out of it, that only causes, that only elicits incredulity because it is not the way we are used to thinking about this. It challenges our understanding of what it is to learn a thing. It challenges our understanding of what language is and what learning language is. If we have, if you start out from an understanding of language as being this very connected thing that helps you, that is essentially one of the main functions of language, is that it helps you organize stuff in your brain. It is an organizing principle. It is very much a system of thought before it is a system of communication. And when you have that understanding of it, and that sort of understanding of acquiring a language, then the idea that, memorizing flashcards and trying to cram 1,000 frequently used phrases into your head is actually going to result in you being able to speak the language actually does not immediately make a whole lot of sense. But there is this. It is all about the fundamental underlying concept of these things that you have, and you do have to actually think about this on a deeper level to understand them.
There are so many people, the vast number of people, who fail and who try to learn a language and just utterly fail. It seems like to me should have given up on that a long, long time ago. Maybe Google's helping us do that. I think Google Translate's wonderful.
Okay.
Type it in or say it in, and go with it.
Well, I mean, it's great if you don't really care whether what you're saying is in fact the thing that you're trying to say. I mean, it's a random text generator more than anything.
But for me, it's just, I'm still incredulous when I think of all the people who work really hard to learn a language, and then, the experience is no different than people who don't try much. It's like, still don't know what they're saying. Can you say that again? So for me, coming into this, I had that as an advantage. I'm not trained as a linguist. I have been trained in other things since coming in and working with ALG, but for the most part, that's not my background at all.
Yeah.
And so I just knew, I was something.
That, like, back to the wall, no other options actually helped you, which is pretty cool. That's
Yeah.
an awesome thing.
Yeah, I mean, that definitely can help. And I feel like that's a reasonably good stopping point, so I'm going to take a quick bio break real quick. I will be back in just a couple of minutes. And let me just drop the link for that playlist that I mentioned for anyone who did not get it. Okay, be right back. Hi, and welcome to Hyperpolyglotting with Elise. I am Elise, translator, editor, and writer with 20 working languages, and this is where we talk about languages and language learning and all sorts of other stuff, and we play games. This is Elise with an update on the ongoing Inessa Armand translation project. We now have 37 of the 38 extant essays and speeches by Inessa Armand translated into English for the first time, and we are just short of the halfway mark on the fundraising progress as well. This enrichment of the English language Marxist canon has only been possible with your support, and it's been a real lifeline for me. So anyone who would like to support this project can find links in the description for how to do so, and everybody who has already supported it has my sincerest thanks. Perfect. Okay, 3 of 4.
El hospital.
還元一級の先というのは、本当に誰も知らない字ばっかりでしょうね。私は Okay, we've leveled up and it is time to pick another language. Morfar är tröttare än vanligt. Maten är färdig. And let's see what we're doing when we get back. Greek. We're doing Greek when we get back. Ben neredeyse her gün okula giderim. Fun fact. Turkish. Hello, Shakespeare. How you doing? Fun fact, in Spanish, the word for bishop in chess is alfil. And that actually comes from Arabic. Fil. The same word fil as this. Meaning elephant, because the bishop traditionally was to represent elephant units somehow. Similarly, in Russian, the word for bishop is sword, and that also means elephant. Okay. This is Elise with an update on the ongoing Inessa Armand translation project. We now have 37 of the 38 extant essays and speeches by Inessa Armand translated into English for the first time, and we are just short of the halfway mark on the fundraising progress as well. This enrichment of the English language Marxist canon has only been possible with your support, and it's been a real lifeline for me. So anyone who would like to support this project can find links in the description for how to do so, and everybody who has already supported it has my sincerest thanks. Ça, c'est ça, que c'est ça, non ça, c'est ça, sol chi sa che nulla sa, ne sa più di chi ne sa.
Ecco. Bonjour et bienvenue à Hyper Polyglotting avec Élise. Moi, c'est Élise, traductrice, éditrice et écrivain avec 20 ans de travail. Et ça, c'est la transmission en direct ou en jeu des jeux, surtout GeoGuessr en dernier temps. Et parle des langues, de la linguistique, de l'acquisition des langues. 10:159. Haven't made a huge dent in it, but we're getting there. Okay, gonna do some Chinese now. Nei. Nei. Mann. Yen. Jo. 5. Ducks are drinking wine. Barbaz, okay, Barbaz is duck. Okay, I have now leveled up. Let's see what the XP situation is now. 10,340 out of 12,500. And as always, viewers can choose my next language for me just with a follow and a $5 to my Patreon. Sotto le frasche del capanno 4 gatti grossi stanno. Sotto 4 grossi sassi, 4 grossi e grassi gatti. Un généreux déjeuner régénéré des généraux dégénérés. Un généreux déjeuner régénéré des généraux dégénérés. Facile. Sì, ecco, la gente... è la cosa che mi dice la gente, sempre che scoprisce che quante lingue parlo. Io sempre avevo l'impressione, diciamo, di che non era così, non era tan così, ma poi dopo di aver visto qualche poliglota in YouTube, una delle cose che avevo scoperte era giustamente che la metodologia usata da quella gente poliglota che non avevo mai conosciuta prima, era più o meno la stessa metodologia che usavo io. I buy a computer or what? Here's another example. I like to point these out. For this word for or, what sounds vaguely like Hogun and the hok in Hogun in Korean or waku in Japanese, and that appears it is the exact same kind of character.
Okay, let me see.
Un chasseur, sa chambre chassée. Ses chassés sont son chien de chasse.
Der dicke Dach.
Okay, der dicke Dachdecker deckt dir dein Dach, drum dank dem dicken Dachdecker, dass der dicke Dachdecker dir dein Dach deckt. Hola y bienvenidos al directo de Hyperpolyglotting with Elise. Yo soy Elisa, traductora, escritora, editora y comunicadora social con más de 20 idiomas de trabajo. Y aquí vamos a estar jugando videojuegos, sobre todo GeoGuessr, y hablando de idioma, la mejor forma de aprenderlo y caleta más. Zwei Zwetschgenzweigen zwitscherten zwei tschechische Schweine. Tres tristes tigres tragaban trigo en un trigal en tres tristes trastos. Oh, I see. This is Diche Ishai Fui, which means, do you want food? But how are the boys? Cocine ta boy. Posso Milao. Pote. Buenese. Proteine. Utros. Topulo. Okay, and I'm back. And let me just move. There we go, that's why. It's like... There, that's... Okay, now you got all of me.
And I thought we could go from theory to actually checking out an example in practice. Let me see. From the comprehensible Thai course that I've been using here. So I'm just going to dig up an example that I've actually already seen, because that'll be easier for me to talk about it. And that's the Beginner 0 playlist that I've been on. They've got Beginner 0, Beginner 1, Beginner 2,
Imagine a family moves to a country where a different language is spoken. After a few years, the children are speaking.
Okay. Here we go. Actually, no, I'm gonna do the next one, because there's a bunch of stuff. This is really well thought out. Okay, here we go. And for anyone who wants this playlist, yeah, dropping that link in chat. And right, c'est parti. Okay, so we have Kru Ying on the left and Kru A on the right. And so we're just going to look at some examples of how they do this. Because, I think they do a really good job with structuring this stuff.
สวัสดีค่ะครูเอ
สวัสดีค่ะครูหญิง สวัสดีค่ะนักเรียน
สวัสดีค่ะ
Interestingly, like the last those things were some of the things that's taken me the longest. I had to watch a lot of these to work out that those are their names, and that Nakrian is, I guess, students or learners or something like that. Because those are the things that that you don't actually see on there. So okay. So they always start the same way.
นักเรียน
ครูหญิงคะวันนี้วันอะไรคะ
วันนี้วันพฤหัสค่ะ
วันนี้วันพฤหัสนะคะ
So they always start with the date. She, Kru A, asks Kru Ying, "What's today? What day is today?" And so this is a thing. See, this is an example of how actually you get spaced repetition that is built into a method like this. So this is often talked about as if these were completely unrelated things. But the thing is, if you're doing a really good, well-structured input-based method, all of this stuff figures into it. So, like, every single one of these videos starts the same way. With all, so you're getting a certain amount of spaced repetition on this, combined with this question and answer pairing.
วันที่เท่าไหร่คะ
วันที่10ค่ะ
วันที่10นะคะ วันนี้วันพฤหัสวันที่10เดือนอะไรคะ
เดือนมีนาคมค่ะ
เดือนมีนาคม ปีพ.ศ. เท่าไหร่คะ
ปีพ.ศ. 2565ค่ะ
ปีพ.ศ. 25
Thailand is in the future. I did not know this until I was watching this, but they have a different, they count years differently. So it is always 534 years further along than us. So they're in the future. Like they're like already in the Star Trek centuries.
6 5 ปีค.ศ. เท่าไหร่คะ
ปีค.ศ. 2022ค่ะ
ปีคศ2022ตอนนี้เวลากี่โมงคะ
ตอนนี้เวลา5โมง7นาทีอ่ะขอโทษค่ะ ลืม5โมง7นาทีค่ะ
ตอนนี้เวลา5โมง7นาที
Okay, so I mean, and you're getting grammar just from the way they're doing this, because you hear the way Crew A is asking the question, hear the way Crew Ying is answering the question, then Crew A will ask for confirmation and sum up the answer to the question, and then take it a little bit further. Okay, so and now then we move on to what we're actually going to be talking about. And this time we're talking about countries.
แล้วก็มีตานะคะตาแล้วก็ดูเราดูครูหญิงครูเอทั้งหมดกี่คนคะ
เรามีนักเรียนทั้งหมด1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8มีนักเรียนทั้งหมด8คนค่ะ
This also, this is one of the other things that it took me a really long time to work out. Because they're doing this live, this is recorded, but it's live on stream, like on a Zoom call or something, to actual students. And they're counting the students. And they do this also every single time, which is how eventually I worked out what's going on. Also, Kru Ying's drawings, it took me a while to work out what they were, because
มีนักเรียนทั้งหมด8คนนะคะมีนักเรียนผู้ชายกี่คน
มีนักเรียนผู้ชาย1 2 3 4 5 6คนค่ะ
มีนักเรียนผู้หญิงกี่คน
I mean, and what they're doing here, I think, is really useful and instructive for a way of doing it. Is they're working out, they're bringing in other sorts of mental operations you're used to doing. So you have like simple arithmetic going on here. So this is the one with the horns, that is men in the class, and then the other is women in the class. And so they're counting. So you have equals 8 back on Nakrian. And then they're doing 6 plus 2, 6 men, 2 women. So it is a familiar operation that they're doing in the target language. And they do this every single time. So eventually, even if you don't understand what they're doing the first time, or the second time, or the third time, or the fourth time in my case, you do eventually work out, oh, they're actually, they're counting the people who are watching. Like, I got that, counting was going on, but I didn't, because I wasn't sure what these circles were for the first 5 or 6 times.
คนคะ
มีนักเรียนผู้หญิง1 2คนค่ะ
มีนักเรียนผู้หญิง2คนนะคะก็มีนักเรียนอเมริกา นักเรียนมาจากประเทศอเมริกากี่คนคะ
มีนักเรียนมาจากประเทศอเมริกา2คนค่ะ
So now they're going to, since they're doing countries, they're going, country by country. And so you get this repetition with this change in, the name of the country. So you're getting a lot of structures in there. Because with the question is, like, how many students have we got who come from the U.S.? มีนักเรียนมาจากประเทศอเมริกากี่คนคะ Holy shit, yeah, okay, yeah, so Like, I am actually able to produce that spontaneously without thinking too much about it. I mean, it's a good advertisement for the method, really. And then they go through all of these. So you're hearing this structure over and over again with this variation. So you're getting words, you're getting grammar, but you're getting it in the context of, like, you're observing a thing that's going on. And if you just allow yourself to observe it, gradually stuff starts making sense. You start to realize what all this stuff actually means. And it's already come together in your head in a particular order, namely the order in which it is properly spoken in Thai.
สองคนมีนักเรียนมาจากประเทศ
อันนี้
อังกฤษค่ะ
อันนี้ลบนะคะ
ลบค่ะลบเลยค่ะ
ลบ
อเมริกา2 คนค่ะ ครูเอ
มีนักเรียนมาจากประเทศอังกฤษกี่คนคะ
มีนักเรียนมาจากประเทศอังกฤษ1 คนค่ะ
มีนักเรียนมาจากประเทศญี่ปุ่นกี่คนคะ
See, and each time, so you're working the numbers in there because it's always the question is how many. So you've got the numbers, those keep on coming back. And so it isn't just like we're going to do the names of the countries. We're going to do it in a context where you're doing a certain mental operation. I mean, it's very well thought out. I really appreciate this. Now we're going to skip ahead because we count all the people. Okay. So we've counted the people.
ครูหญิงเวลาครูหญิงคิดถึงคิดถึงนักเรียนเข้าใจคิดถึงไหมติ๊กติ๊กติ๊กปิ้งคิดถึงมันครูเอกคนไทยใช่ไหมคะก็
ค่ะ
ไม่ต้องคิดถึงประเทศไทยมีนักเรียนอเมริกานะคะเวลาครูหญิงคิดถึงประเทศอเมริกาอเมริกาเนี่ยมีอะไรครูหญิงคิดถึงอะไร
เวลา
So, what do you think about when you think of the U.S.? And we get more interesting artwork.
ครูหญิงเนี่ยนะคะ คิดถึงประเทศอเมริกา
ใช่
ครูหญิงเนี่ย คิดถึง KFC ค่ะ ครูเอ
คิดถึง KFC
อืม
ที่มันเป็นไก่นะ
ไก่ใช่
เอาไป
ไก่
Like, the first time I heard that, because of the way they divide the syllables, I did not hear KFC, I heard K. Epstein, and I was like, okay. But, no, it's KFC.
เอาไปทอด
แล้วก็
ไก่ทอดนะคะผู้หญิง
ใช่ค่ะ
ผู้หญิงวาดไก่ทอดได้ไหม
ได้ค่ะ
วาดได้ไหม
มีกระทะใช่ไหมคะครูเอ
ค่ะ
มีไฟนะคะ มีน้ำมันค่ะ แล้วก็มีนี่ค่ะไก่แล้ว
อ๋อ
ไก่ทอด
อ๋อผู้หญิงคิดถึงไก่ทอด KF
นะคะ ครูเอเนี่ย คิดถึงประเทศอเมริกา ครูเอคิดถึงอะไร
อ๋อ
Yeah, I mean, and so there's all sorts of structure going on here. Like, because there are words that you hear all of the time and that are actually kind of hard to get until you've heard them in a number of contexts. Like, what is actually a complicated word? I talk a bit about this in one of the diary entries. Because what isn't a thing? It is a placeholder for a thing. Like, tag question words are just a little blank that goes in there that specifies a type of answer you're supposed to give, which is actually kind of hard to get across because it isn't actually. I mean, the flapping motions didn't, but the sound did briefly. The flapping motion, I mean, when that was made it clear to me that it was KFC. Oh shit! You see, I had not thought of it that far, but no, it's fried chicken. So like, alright, is what? But you have to hear that a number of times before that starts to get across, because what is just a placeholder. You know, you can't really describe a what. So that gets repeated a lot because it's all done in this kind of question and answer format. I mean, it's all very well thought out, and I have to say, I find I'm actually understanding it very quickly after a relatively short time. I think probably because I'm used to this sort of, like, mental operation, this sort of, I mean, because you're kind of putting your brain in pairing mode. That's what I thought of on the break. What I thought of on the break as a way of describing it, because it's just, okay, it's not doing anything in particular, it's just receptive to whatever is coming to, and it will then, you know, try to process it somehow.
ขอแชร์สกรีนนะคะ
ได้ค่ะ
คิดถึงประเทศอเมริกา ครูเอจะทำครูหญิงใหญ่ๆด้วยไหมเดี๋ยวนะ
โอ้ยใหญ่อยู่นะคะครูเอ๋
Guy, I think.
อ่ะโอเคใหญ่ไหมไม่ใหญ่อันนี้ใหญ่ละ
ได้
ใหญ่ละตรงนี้ละกัน
ค่ะ
ตรงนี้
ครูหญิงวาดกับครูเอ๋ได้ค่ะ
วาดได้ใช่ไหมครูเอกำลังจะแล้วครูหญิงวาดแล้วครูเอจะเห็นไหม
เห็นค่ะ
ครูเอกคิดถึงอเมริกาครูเอกคิดถึงอันนี้ค่ะครูหญิง
คิดถึงอะไรคะ
ครูเอกคิดถึงผู้หญิง
ผู้หญิงใส่มงกุฎนะคะครูเอ๋
ผู้หญิงแล้วก็ที่นี่มีกระดาษไม่ใช่
I'm gonna skip over some more things to talk about some other aspects, but I just love how this image ends up coming out when they're finished with it. Skipping ahead a bit.
ไก่ทอด KFC ไม่ได้
ถึงมีไฟ
Because it looks like a chicken
เอา
is
น่องไก่ลงไปทอด
flying out of the pot to attack the Statue of Liberty, and I don't know, that's sort of a mood. I mean, and another thing that they do really well is you have all sorts of callbacks to previous lessons. So the next one builds on this. So the next one is like capital cities. So they start out by talking, you know, about using, you know, the sentences and things, questions and answers that they came up with in this one. So so you're getting that sort of callback, that sort of spaced repetition that allows you that, and then you're getting additional context. So I mean, a lot of the stuff that people are looking at in non-input based approaches that they think is so useful, like stuff like spaced repetition, stuff like that, that's in here. It's in here in a very particular way, but it is there. But I'm going to switch over. I had something else we wanted to look at, because the Bad Take Factory has not been sleeping. This is called No Nick
comprehensible input still doesn't beat flashcards. He's reacting to a video from somebody called, well, Nick, I guess, not familiar, called No Evildea, comprehensible input does beat flashcards. So, I mean, already getting off to a very... Oh, no comment chick, I've heard of her. Okay, so what's up, Groinders?
What's up, grinders? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be watching a video from Nick from Nicholas Russell Consulting. Do you remember him? We did a react to him once before. Apparently he has dropped a video about me, or at least he's reacting to one of my videos, and the video is titled No Evildea, Comprehensible Russell Consulting. Do you remember him? We did a react to him once before. Apparently he has dropped a video about me, or at least he's reacting to one of my videos, and the video is titled No Evildea, Comprehensible Input Does Beat Flashcards. Ooh, it looks like we're about to have some internet beef. Everyone loves some pointless internet beef over...
But the thing is, okay, maybe for him it's pointless internet beef, but this is actually a thing that matters. Oh, yeah, definitely.
Pointless shit like flashcards and comprehensible input, but we're gonna do it. Anyway, so it looks like he's reacting to my video where I reacted to Steve, and Steve, I think he was talking down about flashcards. I can't remember. But I remember in my video...
Well, yeah, I mean, yes, he was. He was talking about how actually input works better than rote memorization, and you were misunderstanding his entire point.
I was basically saying, whoa, hold up, guys. Flashcards are an excellent tool to complement your language learning journey. Of course, you need a lot of comprehensible input, but you want to use flashcards because flashcards, they basically help you prime your brain for the structures.
Okay, I have to say, what's interesting about this is totally not what he was saying the last time. This is actually much closer. This is literally what Steve was saying Steve Kaufman in the video he was reacting to last time. He was saying this was the thing that he thought flashcards were actually useful for priming in order to kind of help engage with input. This is literally what Steve Kaufman was saying and he was disagreeing with. So is this learning? Butterfly meme?
The sounds, the words, and then also help you massively with output. So I'm kind of curious to see what he's got to say here, because he's talking about comprehensible input still beating flashcards. Poor flashcards. But before we get into this video, I noticed something with your thumbnails, man. What is going on? Here. Now, I haven't watched these videos. I'm just gonna go based on the thumbnails, but we've got I don't believe in dreaming Spanish anymore, and I'm sorry, Pablo. And then if we scroll up, he's like, why comprehensible input doesn't work, and then at the same time, Pablo was right about everything.
Okay, so... Wait. That's interesting. So I guess the idea is that Nick the consultant has decided rather than like having being one pole in a debate, he's decided to be all sides of the debate himself.
What's going? I'm a bit confused. You look a little bit flaky there. You're on and off with Pablo. Poor Pablo, man. He's copping some flack. Okay, let's watch this video together. Boom, this is 16 minutes long. I might speed it up, we shall see.
So around a week or two ago, I saw Steve Kaufman's flashcard video pop up, and then about a week later, I saw Evildea's flashcard video responding to Steve's video pop up, and I did not watch either of them, but this
okay.
topic interested me, so I thought I'd...
What? You did not watch either? Like, you didn't watch either of our videos? then how are you going to make a response? What?
I mean, I guess maybe he's going to respond live? Well, we'll see. This is an hour-long video, so apparently he says things. I mean, I have to say, at this point, I'm curious about this just for the fact that this guy has, like, taken so many contradictory positions within a space of, like, I was noticing the date on the video where he was saying comprehensible input is useless was 3 weeks ago. So, like, that's recent. It isn't like a few years ago we did a video that said, like, input sucks, and now now he believes that input is useful. It's like between, in 3 weeks' time, he came out in reverse, apparently. Okay, interesting. I mean, sometimes you get, like, macro evolution in a short period of time.
It's so blown right now. You haven't watched either of us. I don't understand. Imagine this, like, you got two people that are having an argument down there, you know, talking about something. You're like over here with your hands in your ears going, la 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 la. But I have an opinion. Like, it makes no sense.
Well, I mean, that's...
Okay, I'm sure that...
I mean, that's much of your stream, though, Evildea.
Okay.
Pile on. I've only ever watched about 3 to 4 Evildea videos. I watched his
Well, thank you. I managed to worm my way into your brain at least 3 times.
750-hour Dreaming Spanish review, which I thought was good. And I've obviously...
I'm just realizing why there's this lag. It's because I'm sitting in the line of sight between the receiver for my mouse and my keyboard and my mouse and my keyboard. So I've moved the keyboard to someplace a bit closer to the line of sight, and now suddenly it's working faster. Okay, this arrangement here is very much a work in progress. As are the opinions of Nick here, and Evildea, who has like just come out and said, actually, flashcards are really good for priming. They're really good for priming, unlike what Steve says. Steve-o, you're wrong. Flashcards, they're great for priming. I mean, I'm giving him a very Queensland rough as guts accent, but I think he's actually probably... He sounds like he's from Sydney.
I myself am pretty anti-flashcard, but when I quit flashcards early on a long time ago, I really never looked back, so, you know, I thought it was possible there was some argument about flashcards that I was missing. So
okay, let me just clarify my argument in case you haven't seen that previous...
Especially because it has changed. Please listen carefully, because our menu items have changed.
Video, but editor, please put it up here so those can go watch it if they want. My argument is, and I already stated this, but let me just restate it. If you don't want to use flashcards, that's perfectly fine. However, if you have the tenacity and the willingness...
I mean, let's remember the video, he helpfully put the title up there in that little in-video link, is massive... What was it? Now I need to go back because now I'm not looking at it and...
My argument in case you haven't seen that previous video, but editor, please put it up here so those can go watch it if they want. My argument is, and I already stated this, but let me just restate it. If you don't want to use flashcards, that's perfectly fine. However...
No, Steve, massive input does not beat flashcards. Like... So, like, the whole premise of it was actually that flashcards are better than input. Yeah, let's see how he's evolved. It's been a week. That's...
If you have the tenacity and the willingness to use flashcards, they are an excellent tool to complement you. They can help you with your listening, they can help you with your reading, they can help you with your speaking. It really depends on how you use flashcards and for what purpose you want to use them, okay? And my video was basically
okay, I mean, we're just rewriting, he's just retconning. Like, this is like half of his disagreement with Steve's video in the first place has just kind of disappeared. And now now you could wonder why he titled it "No Steve Massive Input Does Not Beat Flashcards," when he's actually like adopted a lot of Steve Kaufman's arguments. Wow, neat. Like, I don't think you necessarily get to go, wait a second, this bloke has changed his opinion on input like 5 times in the past fortnight. That's a bit sus. Yeah, you don't get to do that when you've like completely rewritten and retconned your own opinion on flashcards.
Response was
I mean, you
basically
could just
Steve
say
misrepresenting how to use flashcards, and I was saying, okay, maybe that is some old school way of using flashcards, but that is not how I recommend the use of flashcards.
Oh wow. Like, he couldn't just say that he learned something from Steve's video that was useful and that he ended up agreeing with, because he did say that Steve Kaufman had it wrong, had like the idea of how to use flashcards wrong. but what he said was actually nonsense, because he did not understand what Steve Kaufman was talking about in terms of pairing. That these are simple pairs, that, you know, you've got one side of the flashcard, the other side of the flashcard. You're pairing one thing with another thing, and you're memorizing them. And he did not comprehend, so to speak, what the point of that was, what the criticism was, and how that differs from the underlying ideas on which an input-based method is based. And then after all that, Steve Kaufman goes, having said all that, there are a couple of situations in which I do use flashcards, and here's how I use them, and here are my criteria for using them. And he says they should be really easy, there shouldn't be many of them, and they should relate to what you're about to look at in the immediate future, as a way of priming you. And I remember it well because it was the first time I've heard somebody else use the word priming the way I use it. And so now it seems that the Evildea Borg has assimilated Steve Kaufman's approach to flashcards and made it his own without acknowledging that he has changed his mind here and perhaps, you know, learned something, which is okay to do. It's okay to admit you learn things, Evildea. It's okay to admit that somebody you disagree with actually had something useful to teach you. That's okay. That sometimes happens.
Or those who I see use flashcards within the language space, okay? So I was basically pointing that out, and then I gave a demo of appropriate use and context for flashcards.
Yeah, and his demo was literally, the point of his demo was that supposedly he was refuting Steve Kaufman's idea of what people do with flashcards. Except because Evildea did not understand the critique being made, he did not understand that he was doing the exact thing that Kaufman was talking about, namely memorizing pairs. That it is pairs and pairs of information, like a sound and written words, or words and a meaning, or a sound and a meaning. Those are all pairs, but he thought that whether it's a pair or not depended on the total number of words or something like that. So he's like, no, this isn't a pair, Steve. This isn't a pair, Steve. Because you got 3 words. 3 whole words, mate. This is a triplet. You know, or something. It will be interesting if he ever like this one, his name's in the title. He might fucking see it. That could be interesting. But so he did not understand what the point was. I did not expect that when I pulled this up, that half of what I was going to end up doing is pointing out how he's retconning his take on Steve Kaufman. I'm going to fast forward a bit so we can... Oh no, I don't need to. We're already looking at Nick again. whose take also evolves rapidly, apparently.
Help you.
So I went into this video open-minded. I'm not gonna go over every argument Steve made or every rebuttal Evildea made, and
So you did watch the video. What was that, like, random thing at the start there where you're like, I didn't watch either video?
Well, I think he meant that at one point he hadn't watched either video, and then he sat down and watched them, and having watched them, now he has seen the video.
I'm so confused. It's like, we're like, what, 45 seconds in and you've already, like, gone against yourself.
instead, I'm just gonna give my own take based on what's already been said. What surprised me is
Cool. So I'm gonna forget about all the fact that he hasn't seen my video, but he has seen the video.
after I watched Evildea's video on flashcards, I kind of ended up being more anti-flashcard as opposed to less.
Okay.
Firstly, I want to concede the idea that flashcards can help you. Nowhere in this video am I gonna say that flashcards are just useless and don't do anything. Also, I want to concede that input is a bad tool for remembering numbers and dates and other trivial facts.
Well, except it isn't though. It depends what the input is. The thing about input is, it is a vast universe of things. Literally, input is people saying shit. That's all it is. It's people saying stuff. Like, what we're watching right now, this is input. This is input for, I don't know, like a B1 English learner? I don't know, maybe B2. Somebody who's got a fair, you know, you need to have a certain amount of abstract vocabulary to be able to work with it. Like, but so, for example, actually the way we were seeing Crew A and Crew Ying working with numbers there actually is pretty good for remembering numbers, because you get numbers in all sorts of different contexts. Yeah, you're contradicting yourself. I didn't say that. I don't agree with Steve, except in the bit where he says about the priming. Shit. Like, because they use numbers in all sorts of different contexts. Like, they do arithmetic, they have the date, they do the year. They're like, okay, how many people from the US do we have here? 1, 2, you know, ding song, you know, how many people from, you know, wherever. So you're getting numbers in all sorts of contexts, and you do learn them that way. It depends on what you're doing. But yeah, I mean, if all you're trying to do is memorize something, it isn't a memorization method. So you're not going to get all this stuff necessarily the first go or something like that. If all you're trying to do is memorize how to count, it'll take, you know, that isn't going to be the same thing, because this isn't about memorizing it. Maybe he just had to think about what Steve said about flashcards, realized that actually it made a lot of sense, and decided to adopt it. And now, rather than just saying that it was educational, he learned something, he had to he had to think about it, and that was actually a good point or something like that. He's always got to be right on his channel, apparently. So, he's just, like, Borged it.
That's a pretty obvious application for flashcards, in my opinion. Also, of course, just like Evildea and Steve said, if you like to do flashcards, continue to do flashcards. I'm not here to tell you to stop doing flashcards if you like them. You should just do what you like.
Okay, so it seems like so far, we're probably 90% in agreement. Okay, cool.
Well, at least until Evildea watches another Steve Kaufman video on the subject.
One of Steve's major points in his video is that flashcards lack context, and I 100% agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, that is a huge issue. And it's also about understanding what kind of context we're talking about, because they're not connected to any interaction. They're not connected to an experience. remember, I mean, David Long was talking about this as, you know, language as experience. This is disembodied language. So that's already sort of disconnecting it from the things that make language acquisition happen.
So rather than memorizing pairs or rules, you're expanding your sense of the rhythm, the intonation, the range of meaning of words. It's a much more complex, expanding connection with the language, which the sort of isolated retrieval of a flashcard.
Yeah, and Elmo's over there looking down like, yeah, I didn't see shit. Don't look at me, don't ask me to be your witness.
Item just doesn't do that. It's much, much more limited.
Evildea's response is basically flashcards do have context when used properly.
Okay.
Yeah,
Isolate
except
from
it's not the
context,
same
no
kind of
rhythm,
context.
Intonation, emotion, or grammatical patterns. Just a bare pair.
Yeah, like, and the issue the whole time was he did not know what he meant by a bare pair.
No. No! This is not correct.
We use sentences and not isolated words. We use multiple cards per word to cover different structures and patterns. We can drill structures across many fillers. Like if you have a sentence, I'm allergic to X, you can remove the X and replace it with shrimp or turkey or eggs. And if we want other context like intonations, we can...
Yeah, and all of this, and the point of all of this was it did not actually... It was examples of what Steve Kaufman was talking about. Okay.
We can use audio.
Yeah, just so you guys know why I was doing that structure. When you swap out just the noun, it teaches your brain that there is a set structure that underlies this entire sentence, and there is a component of the set structure.
I hope everybody who's in the Discord saw what River Rune did last week. I noticed it, like, I was just about to click out of the stream, and I saw it scroll up a little bit, and you will see Stab Me Elmo.
Which is swappable. You're essentially creating a chunk that your brain knows how to easily manipulate.
Okay, which fucking Evildea am I looking at now?
Combine that with other chunks, and the flashcards, the templates are.
Are they wearing the same shirt? This is really confusing because he's reacting to himself being reacted to. Like, is this like present Evildea? Is this like what? I am completely disoriented here because the
flashcards basically represent those chunks, and that card that he was showing, I believe, was a I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure it was a production card, so for practicing that chunk.
And I really think there's a category...
okay, so that's... Okay, so this is like... This is Evildea Prime.
Happening here. I'm not sure how you can really arrive at flashcards give context using the shrimp allergy example.
Well, you can if all you think context is use it in a sentence. If you think that's context, then that's what we're talking about. Then that's why you would think that that's context. The trouble is that is not the kind of context we're talking about. We're talking about context as in a conversation, an experience, an event, a happening.
I think Evildea is conflating.
Well, okay, that's
no. Let's hear what he's conflating.
For your video here.
I think Nick's about to have a good point.
That is not something that needs any specific category. Like, I am allergic to something that, like saying I am allergic to something, it doesn't really need context. It's a.
Well, okay. Because last time he was saying that using it in a sentence, there is context because it's used in a sentence. And now he's saying you don't really need context. So, like, I guess in the meantime he's worked out that we're talking about two different kinds of contexts? Or something? Like, okay, this is very confusing. Okay, I gotta pay attention to make sure that I, like, what shirt this Evildea is wearing.
that statement. You probably could have used some other flashcards that I had to make your argument, but we shall see.
Context.
No,
and
like
repetition.
literally
Think about
all
what
of them.
context actually is. Let's say you were watching this video to help you learn English, which some of you actually are. For every word you're hearing, you're getting context at an innumerable amount of layers at the same time. There's the context of my current sentence, obviously. There's the context of the paragraph surrounding my sentence. There's the context of the broader video itself, the video topic. There's the context of me being the speaker. And all of this matters.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, very well summed up. I mean, there's all sorts of context, and the kind of context that Evildea seemed to think that we were talking about is just use it in a sentence. Yeah, I mean, he summed that up well. No notes.
Because you know, for instance, I'm speaking American English. You know the level of formality at which I'm speaking. You know I'm a male in his mid-20s, not a woman in her 80s. If you've watched my channel before, you have the context of every single video that you've watched up to this point. You can see my emotional state, for instance. Am I sad? Am I angry? Of course, this is an explainer video, so I'm not super emotional.
He sounds very driven,
actually.
Okay, so I get the context. It's basically the entire history that's related to the words that you're saying at this moment. Okay?
Yeah, I mean, that's the point. I mean, the point is that that all this stuff is connected. That you acquire this stuff in a connected sort of a way. And so when you use flashcards where there's just the translation and the phrase, you're not connecting it to the concepts or the experience or like the situation in which you might say this. You're connecting it just to the words in your source language. Different kind of connections.
You have so many layers of context, I literally couldn't name them all, and that's why Steve is saying input is context rich. You know all of these things without anybody explicitly telling you them, and all of these things are affecting what words I use and how I'm phrasing.
He sounds like he's scolding me. There's something, like, he sounds really actually, like, low-key pissed off right now. What did the linguist in the comments say?
Using my sentences.
Okay, I do want to talk a little bit about context because I can see the direction that this argument is already going. The direction is that by just doing it via input as opposed to using flashcards, you are constantly getting a refreshed matrix of basically ideas, experiences, all this stuff related.
Yes, exactly. It only took 2 people explaining it to him this time.
To the words they're constantly being reused and constantly showing new ways and new patterns that these structures are being used in. Okay. However, there is a fundamental misunderstanding of how the brain works with this because people always talk about this. They're like more input, because you're basically building this rich map in your head, but you're not. What happens with a mass amount of input is that your brain is going to focus in on just a specific...
Okay. We're going to hear about how the brain works now. Like, I mean, and what's great is that the people he's arguing against are people who are actually arguing in line with what actual like neurologists, neuroscientists say the brain does when it comes to language. And
a little bit here and there, and everything else is going to black out and completely forget about. Just instantly forget about it. Okay?
No, that's actually not true. That is like 100% not true. And I mean, you can actually know this from experience, because often you can like if you hear certain input when you're at an early stage of acquiring a language and don't understand shit about it, potentially you could go back, like when you do understand it, when you do understand the language, you can like recall it and go, oh shit, that's what that was. That phrase suddenly acquires meaning because you have the right ways to categorize it in your brain. So no, it is not actually just going completely over your head. That is not how any of this works, actually.
evidence of that is the fact that you could go, there's videos on YouTube, okay, where they're like, hey, I want you to watch this person right in the middle of the room. Watch what they're doing with their hands. And you'll focus on their hands and they'll be like, did you see that? Watch them again with their hands. And you'll watch and you'll watch and...
Well, you just saw what I'm doing with my hands. Like, this is not the same sort of thing. Because, again, here we go. I mean, remember I said early on this stream, it all comes down to how you understand fundamentally what this process is that we embark on when we try to acquire a language. And here he is once again making it about memorization. He fundamentally thinks that this is memorizing words and phrases. And so he uses analogies and examples that are about like situational awareness, essentially. And the ways that you can sort of focus people's attention in on something to the exclusion of other things. I mean, this is useful in the sense that we're actually getting... he's actually becoming more explicit about it. Yeah, but... like, this is... I mean, whenever he does analogies, it is always about memorization. He fundamentally thinks this is a memory task.
like, okay, now I don't want you to watch this person's hands, just watch what happens in the background. You're like, what do you mean in the background? And there's a guy in a monkey suit going, boop, 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 boop. You never saw the monkey suit dude before. Do you know why? Because...
yeah, but... God, this is not the same... Jesus Christ, well, this is not the same thing! This is a very different thing. And the thing is, when you do input-based methods... the idea, nobody's telling you only focus on this one thing. It is not, I mean, like, when you're talking about, like, beginner level input-based methods, the idea is to actually create a situation where you can focus on all of it, and where you can focus on all the relevant information. Like,
your brain picked something.
I'm taking my leg down from the chair.
To focus in on. So yes, there was a ton of context in that video. There was a person in the monkey suit in the background, someone doing something with their hands or not doing something with their hands, the people in the room, their emotions, their feelings, the time of day, everything.
Yeah, but it was a visual memory and attention example there. Do you understand the difference there, champ?
Thing was there, but your brain did not pay attention to any of that. It took in this video and filtered out everything except for the one little thing it cared about at that moment. So, yes, doing just complete input will give you a lot of context, but the vast majority of it will be filtered out and complete.
Yeah, like, he just really does not understand any of these things. Because, of course, the thing is, input, it is, I mean, he does not actually seem to understand that there are all sorts of ways that you can sort of help pre-digest input for learners. That, I mean, the idea that... yeah. Oh, I see, Riveroon. Yeah. God. Like, God, bad analogy.
Forgotten. I've learnt that more and more via my experiences with my Dreaming Spanish series, that realistically you can only gather so much from input at a time. You just gather...
yeah, that's true. You can only get so much from input at a time. You can only get so much. See, here's the thing. Evildea. My dear, dear, sweet little echidna. You can only gather so much from anything at a time.
gather a little bit here and there. And realistically, with my Dreaming Spanish series, the thing that's actually gotten me to that like level of what am I right now? Probably a B1 plus like understanding of the language. It's just the amount of hours.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, I love he will slag off Dreaming Spanish and slag off ALG, and then say he's at a B1 plus level of the language, which he's doing through ALG. Like, that's nothing. That's something. That's a lot, actually. Like, that's a fucking result.
Like, I've just done an insane amount of hours at this point. Like, over 920 something hours. But during that 920 something hours, I guarantee you, like, 90% of what I watched probably went in one ear and out the other. Like, my brain did not focus on it.
Yeah, like, one of the things that he also does not seem to understand is the concept of implicit learning. Because most of what goes on in terms of language acquisition is not something you're conscious of. It is something that's going on. It is a background process. You don't realize it's happening until you experience the result of it. There's something about the way that he has designed this, like, picture-in-picture here that makes him look like, I think it's the way the circle that he's in fades, and the way he's looking down like this. It's like some sort of adaptation of a Renaissance picture, and he's like God looking down on the earth.
All these layers are happening at the same time. Every word I'm saying in this video is landing inside all of them simultaneously.
And like, we're 3 minutes 36 seconds in. What can I remember from this video? Okay, if I close my eyes now, what do I remember? You presented the fact that you... Okay.
See, once again, he thinks it's a rote memorization task. It's not.
So my brain focused in on the fact that you said you haven't watched my video and Steve's video, and that caused me some confusion. And then after that, you said there was a category error, and
yes, there.
It. Like, I don't.
Well, okay, those have been the main points, actually. There was a category error. Oh, a bad little cherub. Yeah, totally.
I think you're wearing a black suit. I don't know what the background color is. I don't know anything else. Now, so the background's a white wall. I should have known that. And I said a black suit, but you're not wearing a black suit. You're wearing a black shirt. Now, the reason I just did that little exercise right there is
because it's a category error. He's right. This is a category error. You do not understand the assignment. Like, this is not a situational awareness exercise.
because your brain is excellent at filtering out the vast majority of stuff it cannot utilize at that exact moment. And that is the problem with just...
I mean, what's wild about this is... I mean, if anything mattered in that video, it would have been the things that were said, and he seems to have instead decided to pay attention to the interior decoration.
Just input.
Well, I think he knows that if he makes a video, linguists on YouTube will, like, get it in their recommendations just to torture them. Yeah, I mean, it's like, it reminds me in a completely different context, on a completely different level. There was, there was a video a while ago, I think it was from Overzealots, about, like, slopcasters and weaponized ignorance. And I'm not saying, this is like a totally different thing. This is qualitatively different. But the thing he's doing, where it'll be like, he sort of hand waves away the fact that he actually doesn't know what he's talking about, rather than, say, going and looking and finding out about it. By just saying, yeah, I don't know, I don't know anything about this, I'll ask some linguists on YouTube. You know, where all the linguists are. That's what we know about YouTube, Chad, of course, is that YouTube is where you go for the linguists.
Without any type of focus study.
That's what context actually is, not just the words around some target word or some words in a sentence around the target word. It's all of this. Every encounter with a word and input is sitting inside a nested stack of context.
Yes and no. It sits inside a stack of context. However, the vast majority of it you will never access, utilize, or...
That does not matter.
acquire in any way.
And this applies...
Like, that does not fucking matter. Like, again, it's not a memory, like, this is painful.
Whether you're watching videos online, listening to an audiobook, or just talking to a native speaker. It applies to any form of input. When you drill, I'm allergic to X 30 times, none of that exists. There's no speaker, there's no situation, there's no topic content.
And I think you misunderstood, or maybe I did not present this efficiently or well within my video. That seems like a very random thing to have in a flashcard, right?
Well, I mean, okay, so in what way...
Let me explain. You were looking at the production deck.
Yes, but the point does not change because it's the production deck.
Production deck is the deck in which I need to practice certain structures to be able to say them. If I think back to Spanish, how many times have I seen someone say I'm allergic to something? I think I might have seen one video once, some ages ago. I don't remember the word for like allergic in Spanish.
Alérgico. It's practically the same word as English.
How many times have I seen it in Chinese? Probably a few more times, but realistically, there has been many instances where I've had to say this structure myself because I am allergic to seafood, okay? So, because I have to say this structure a lot, I'm not going to just naturally pick this up from context.
You can seek out context in which it occurs. And in fact, actually, I will say that I would say the fact that this is actually a life or death phrase that you need to know is actually a form of context that's going on there. It's the context of you either make this understood or you get anaphylactic shock. I mean, that is a certain amount of context, so it isn't, in that sense, it isn't entirely decontextualized.
I need to be able to practice this structure. And in order to practice it, I need to know how it's formed. And when I add it into my Anki, I don't want to just learn how to say, you know, I'm allergic to seafood. I want to learn the underlying structure because that structure can actually be reutilized in other ways.
I bet you could find all sorts of context.
Place of need, of real world use. And then I expand it in order for me to...
Yeah, but that's still like not... That's still just rote memorization of a pairing which is just not going to be as efficient. It's not going to root itself as thoroughly as a situation where you are getting it in a highly contextualized way. And I'm sure if you like decided to sort of mine the internet for like videos about food allergies in Chinese, you could find videos about food allergies in Chinese, I'm sure.
To learn the underlying structure that happens there. That way, when I'm in China, I can just say to someone, 我对海鲜过敏. You know, I am allergic to seafood. It's not just a random structure that I slapped in there for no reason at all.
Yeah, but the thing is, the issue is not that it's whether it's a random structure for no reason at all. The issue is the way you're going about it, whether it's rote memorization and drill, versus actually sort of experiencing it. Like, you could have I bet if you actually were to look up, Haising Guomi on Guomi on YouTube, you could probably find people talking about seafood allergies. And they would almost certainly have people saying that they are, allergic to seafood in it. And you would get that structure a lot, and you would get that structure in a relevant context. And that would cement it more, and you would get more useful, you would get more useful words in that context too. That you would need to be able to, that would be probably important to be able to say.
Put it in there so that I can learn to utilize that in conversation as a chunk, as part of a greater part of my language, okay? And I think a lot of people misunderstand when I talk about flashcards. You're not meant to learn the whole language through flashcards. You're meant to learn specific templates that can be reutilized in various different places.
Yes. But again, it's rote memorization of pairings. And you can get those, templates much more effectively through a well-designed, input-based method. I mean, templates are what you're getting to a great extent in that comprehensible Thai video we were looking at. They were templates for a person who does X, for example, because or how many people are there here who do X? That template was in there. That's actually a pretty complicated sentence, but you get it several times in a context. And the thing is, you're not just getting words for countries there. Badger has actually, okay, I think you've got a point there. I think that makes sense. Because Esperanto really is very easy if you know at least one major Indo-European language. And the grammar is designed to be the simplest thing around. It's designed to be extremely consistent. And most of the utilization of Esperanto is in a context where people are trying to learn Esperanto. But I just noticed the time. It is time for me to start thinking dinner-related thoughts. Thank you to everyone who joined in. Have a good rest of your May Day. And let me just remind you of the crowdfunded translation project, which always appreciative of people who spread the word and who contribute in all sorts of ways, because I have a hell of a time getting the word out about this project, and all help is very much appreciated. Here is a link that you can share with people to finish translations from the project and stuff like that, if you want to read them yourself. In any case, thank you so much for coming. I hope you enjoyed the stream, and we will be back tomorrow at 4:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, and perhaps we'll continue on with this. This has been interesting, and deeply, deeply frustrating as well, but interesting.